Hey, what is going on, guys? It's the SS Ultimate Goku. Back with another video. Um, Today we're going to be talking about the rumors. About guys, is the SS. Oh, sorry. About the deal. The deal that well, it's not a deal. It's a rumor deal, but deal that everyone seems to be talking about. So it's not official, and it's not. It's just basically being talked about, and I'm almost certain that this website that reported this, which I have the sort in the description, I'm almost certain that there's some stuff in this deal that they're showing is not exactly accurate. But we're gonna go over it anyways, just in case, if it comes out to being true. And personally, I'm just gonna say this right now: if this deal is true, Sony are fools. If this is the real deal, if this is the real deal, and this is the deal that that Sony's going for, the fools. That's all I'm gonna say. They're freaking fools. They are freaking fools. Period. End of story. But I'm gonna go over it and say why it's fooled. Now a lot of people are saying that this deal is in fact true because a couple of hours ago, Tom Holland on Instagram posted a couple of pictures with Robert Downey Jr., who's Iron Man, Tony Stark, saying, and quote, "We did it." So a lot of people are saying that this rumor is now true. This doesn't exactly mean that the deal is true. It just could be him just posting that again. I mean, it could be that it's true, but my whole thoughts is, why would you tell your actors that this shit is like going on in the in between? Like, you shouldn't be telling them this. Like, but that's my take on it. Like, let them wait. So, reportedly, if this deal is in fact true, we're going to hear an announcement from D23 Expo, which is this Saturday. So, I don't know exactly how anything could have changed within 2 days. I don't care. The whole backlash and all that shit, that doesn't mean shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when it comes to negotiations and all that shit, it has nothing to do with backlash and all that stuff. You know, at the end of the day, you got to get the good deal. And I don't know if this is a good deal. So the new Spider-Man live-action deal is basically supposed to be a 6-picture agreement with a 7 option. The 7th film being optional. It doesn't. Let me see, because I want to go over this. With a 7 option, yes. So there are. It's supposed to be 3 Spider-Man movies, 3 Spider-Man films after Spider-Man 3, which will be a new trilogy. So are they all supposed to be Spider-Man films, like, or is there supposed to be a mixture of Avengers films? Like, because they don't really explain this. That's another reason why I'm kind of skeptical about this website being accurate in terms of the way this deal is going, because it's like, what do they exactly mean? Like, are they saying that, like, you're going to get 3 Spider-Man films after Spider-Man 3, which means there will be 4 Spider-Man films, and so does that mean the 2 Avenger films in between there, or group films in there? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, or whatever film they want to put him in that it's not Sony's involvement. So that's an issue there. The second trilogy is supposed to be Parker through his college years, whatnot, whatever. Okay, so the 3 other movies are Okay, so now now they're already rewording themselves here when I'm rereading this now. They're rewording themselves here because in the first package here, paragraph here, they said there will be 3 more films after Spider-Man 3. So that implies that Spider-Man 3 doesn't count in the equation of the 3 more Spider-Man films afterwards. However, when you get to this paragraph over here, it says the other 3 movies are 2 Avenger films, in which Spider-Man will have a large role and become friends with James Storms, the Human Torch, Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four hasn't even been shown in the MCU yet, so I'm kind of skeptical about that. Especially since they already announced the next 2 years of Phase 4 already. Kevin Feige already announced it, which, in my personal opinion, doesn't even look that good. But they're also focusing on the television series too. So there's that. They're the television series for Disney Plus. Okay, so yeah, because that's what I'm trying to figure out. So they're only gonna get 2, because last time they had 3, and Sony had only 2 solo films. So yeah, but the difference here is Sony in this deal. Sony and Marvel Studio or Disney will both be well, they're not co-financing it because it would be a 70-30, which I'll get to that later, by the way. It'll be a 70-30. Percent, but that could be why. But my whole thing on this is they already announced the next 2 years, and obviously Sony is going to have a Spider-Man film out for 2021. So I don't know where they're going to be able to fit that schedule in to, especially since Disney already announced what they're doing for the next 2 years. So I think something has to be delayed then, I would think, if they're going to do that. They're also supposed to be basing this stuff on X-Men and Iceman, which was a part of the old Spider-Man series, I guess, or whatever. The other 3 movies are Avengers movies, even though like I said, Avenger hasn't even been announced for Phase 4, okay, because they just did Endgame. So if they're Avenger films, then it doesn't. And also, does Sony get a stake in the Avenger films then? Because, like I said, it doesn't say that. And, Sony never got a stake in any of the films that Spider-Man appeared in the Avengers and the Captain America Civil War film. I feel like they should get, a percentage for the character appearing in there, because it's well, if you're going to co-finance our solo films, well, not co-finance, but, are you going to, be a part of it? They're going to get, 30%. Why am I not getting a percentage of the films that we're not involved in that you're going to use our character in? You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make sense to me. Like I said, Marvel Studios will co-finance all the Spider-Man related movies for 30% of the full profits. Disney previously wanted 50%, but Sony said no, which led to the fallout of parts. Sony would distribute, but Disney will acquire the exclusive digital and online rights for Disney Plus, which that makes sense. It doesn't say anything about home media rights. So I'm assuming Sony will still put out the home media rights exclusively, but for online things, that they're basically in digital, when they do the home movie things, you usually see those free digital downloads or whatever. I'm assuming they're gonna be putting some Disney Plus thing where you could watch it on Disney Plus or something. That's what I'm assuming they're gonna do when they put them out, despite the fact that the home media rights will be through Sony. I'm assuming because it doesn't mention that specifically. But it does specify TV networks, though, affiliated with TV networks and shit. So they would be allowed to put it wherever they want for TV networks. Does Paramount? Well, yeah. No, that's Paramount Pictures. No, that's right. No, I don't know if Sony has any channels, like any like actual channels. So maybe that's better. Well, I thought for TV, right? Like, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm thinking for TV networks, it's going to be halfies. That I'm not sure. I don't think this is that. Like I said, I don't think this deal is 100% accurate. Like that, they're like if this is true, and they made a deal, I don't think this is accurate. I think a lot of this stuff is not true, or is exaggerated. So now we're going to get to the stuff that I give a damn about. Well, almost. First, we're going to talk about they're planning a live-action Into the Spider-Verse movie, I guess, which Marvel Studios is going to help out with, which I think is stupid. Because that's their thing. That was so... Like, the Into the Spider-Verse animated movie... That was Sony's thing. Like, that 100% was Sony. Like, Kevin Feige, Marvel Studios had no involvement in that. And that movie did very well for people. So, that they're planning on that being a live-action movie. And, you know, they're going to be involved in it. This doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be involved in the animated version of it for like the sequel or anything like that, because I've heard they're planning a sequel for Into the Spider-Verse. So that has nothing to do with that. I don't know if that necessarily they're involved with that, but for the live action version of Into the Spider-Verse, they're going to help co-finance it, and I'm assuming it's going to be a 70-30 split. But that's not counting the Spider-Man films, the live-action Spider-Man films. That's going to be its own live-action thing. So that they might have a different Spider-Man for that film, for that franchise in general. I don't know, like, because you got Miles Morales like in there, you got Gwen Stacy in there. Like, if it's just a complete remake, like, you know, with the Disney people, what Disney is trying to do with all their like classics, which aren't nearly as good. If that's what they're just basically trying to do with this here, you know, you're going to have multiple different live-action actors for Spider-Man, because it's not going to be Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Because Into the Spider-Verse, I don't think that's going to be an MCU film, because again, it was its own thing and it shouldn't be connected to the MCU. But it would announce different universes for Spider-Man then. If it's the same thing as the anime one, or if they go into a different direction, you might see, you know, all the classic Spider-Mans, like, you know, well, not classic Spider-Man, but like you see the, you know, Tobey Maguire, or like Andrew Garfield or whatever, you know, in there. I don't know. But if it's just a complete remake of the animated version, then it's probably going to be other people in there. But whatever. I still think I don't think they should. I don't think Marvel Studios should be involved in that, because that was not their creation. I don't think they should be involved in that. Okay, so now this is where I'm getting it, because this is what I care about. I care about Venom. I don't give a fuck about Spider-Man. I give a fuck about Venom, because obviously Venom is affected in all this shit. Obviously, and they're fucking saying that Venom will relocate into the MCU. Now, they don't specifically say that Marvel Studios will be co-financing Venom, like they do for Spider-Verse live action, which they say here. They just say that Venom will be relocating to the MCU. I don't know how much I feel about that. I feel like Venom, I I don't really want him in the MCU. Like, a lot of people want him in the fucking MCU, but after that first film was done, I was like, do we really want him in the MCU? Do we really want him in the MCU? Like, he's so much better. Like, he did so good without Spider-Man. Like, and I thought what they were doing with Venom was good the first time around. If we put him in the MCU, then, yeah, he's going to meet up with Spider-Man, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but then, you know, is the second film going to be then just a retelling? Because I don't want that shit to be a retelling. I want to see him versus Carnage. I want to see Carnage and Venom go at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what Venom 2 is supposed to set up from the first film. I don't want no stupid... We don't need a fucking reboot from that film. Excuse my French. We don't need a freaking reboot of that film. Or a soft reboot or whatever. We don't, you know, it would be a soft reboot, but we wouldn't need that. You know, I mean, obviously the direction is going to be slightly different in Venom 2 because we got a new director, but I mean, the whole idea behind Venom 2 is supposed to be Carnage and Venom. Now, like I said, I mean, with this, it doesn't say that Spider-Man will appear in it, and it doesn't show if that counts towards the contract or not. But, like I said, I don't know where you go from this with that. I don't know. So, like I said, that's gonna be the biggest issue for me. Is like, you know, if we put him in the MCU, and again, it doesn't say that Venom's going to be co-financed by Marvel Studios. It just says that Venom will be in the MCU. That's all it basically says. Is that Venom will be in the MCU. They don't specify that Marvel Studios will co-finance it like they do with Into the Spider-Verse, live-action movie. So, that's another reason why I'm skeptical. Because why would you put a character in the MCU if you're not going to be involved in it? That's not, like, I was like, you know, Kevin Feige's gonna put a character in the MCU that he has no control over. Now, we've heard rumors that Venom, and I didn't want to address it, there was rumors that Venom 1, Kevin Feige helped out, which I don't know exactly if he really helped out. I mean, he might have, you know, given suggestions, but I don't know if he really was hands-on involved with Venom 1. I don't think he was, to be completely honest with you. I think he may have given suggestions. He may have been on set a couple of times, you know, just give him a couple ideas for them. But I don't think he was that involved, like people are making it out to be. Because, you know, why would he? It's not part of his thing. You know what I'm saying? It's not part of his thing, you know. So, you know, it might be now, but I mean, it was not part of his thing. The first one was certainly not part of his thing. So, yeah, that's my thing. So, Sony will give permission for TV live-action programs based on the Spider-Verse properties. Sony only has the film rights to Spider-Man, but needs permission for Disney for the television rights. Okay, so now this is where I'm kind of confused on what they're trying to say here, because it's like, earlier we were talking about, they're going to co-finance the live-action version of Spider-Verse, for the movie, but for the Spider-Verse properties, they're going to get TV rights for it. You know, Sony's going to get permission for TV rights. They're going to be allowed TV rights. But what exactly is that going to lead to? Because that's obviously not going to be on Google. That's not going to be obviously on Disney Plus. That's not going to be on Disney Plus. And Is it going to be centered around the Into the Spider-Verse live action version? Are they going to do an anime spinoff? Not an anime. Are they going to do a cartoon spinoff of Into the Spider-Verse on television? Like, it doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. And not to mention, why is it just live action? It should be animated too. Like, I would be like, well, why aren't we allowed to get TV rights to cartoon like shit as well? Like, I want some of that stuff too. It doesn't make sense. Now, it's saying that Disney wants a deal to be done before Saturday's Marvel's panel at D23 Expo. Spider-Man is also said to be a part of D23's Expo panel. This is really irrelevant. Of course, this is ideal, but I don't know. And then also, here's another false information. I've covered this shit before. Obviously, they talk about how the actors, unfollowed Sony or whatever, which that's kind of whatever. That doesn't mean shit. They still are under Tom Holland and all those people are still under contract, so it doesn't matter. They'll still have to go with Sony regardless whether he's in the MCU or not, because then they'd be in breach of contract. So I don't think they're gonna go in that route. But what they say here, and I keep trying to explain this to people. I explained this already multiple times. I made a video about it already. If Sony is purchased by another company like Apple, like anybody, Spider-Man's film right goes back to Disney. That's a lie. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If Sony is sold, which they're not going to be, if they are sold, as long as the company, like Apple, keeps the film division, they keep the rights. So Apple, if they keep Sony as a film division, they keep the Spider-Man rights, which a lot of people don't understand. John already covered this, who actually is a reliable YouTuber. He covered this a long time ago. He knows people in the movie industry. He talks to people in the movie industry. He actually knows how this stuff works. And I actually feel like I should link that if I can find the video for it. But a lot of these MCU fanboys and a lot of these people don't seem to understand that if Sony is sold, as long as their division stays intact, they keep Spider-Man. Like, they keep him. Like, people seem to not understand that. Like, they just assume that the moment something is bought, it's over with. And that's not how it works. There are loopholes to keep a studio having the Spider-Man rights. There are ways to do it. But like I said, here's my thoughts on this deal, though. If this is the actual deal, if this rumor is turned out to be true, and this is the actual deal, Sony are idiots. That's all I'm going to say. They are idiots. First and foremost, if I'm giving them a 70-30 split, if we're doing a 70-30 split, I want at least 5 to 10% of the merchandising rights. Because Disney gets 100% of the Spider-Man merchandise rights because they sold them back in... Because Sony, being Sony, sold the merchandising rights back in 2011, which I think was incredibly stupid. I think that was incredibly stupid to have done that. Because Disney right now is averaging like $8 billion a year on Sony merch. Or not Sony merch. God dang it. Spider-Man merch. I think that is such a stupid thing that Sony did. Just for, quick cash. If I was Sony, that would be the first thing I would say, because my whole proposal was 80-20. 80-20 or 85-15. That would my proposal, but that would be just for Spider-Man films, not for all these other things like Into the Spider-Verse or any other spin-off. It doesn't mention Kraven the Hunter, which that's another film that's being made, or whatever, Morbius. Those films are being made by Sony exclusively, and it doesn't mention them. Those films are not mentioned. Or any other films that are being like in the works, like Glenn Stasiak, which is another live action movie that Sony's working on. So it doesn't mention those films. So those films, I imagine, are going to be their own thing with Sony. It seems like the deal is only for Spider-Man, obviously. Live action Spider-Man, the live action Into the Spider-Verse, and then Venom is going to be in the MCU. But they're not gonna. But Marvel Studios is not co-financing it. Which, I mean, when you think about it, if that is true, the new director is someone Kevin Feige likes. Venom 2 is going to be done by a new director. And it's someone that Feige really likes. So I don't think it would be that much of an issue for Feige to not be involved with it necessarily, officially, because, even though it's in the MCU, it's not someone that he doesn't know or trust as the director. So, I mean, that could be the reason why they have him for Venom 2. But I just think Venom should be by himself. That's where my take is on all this. Venom should be his own thing. And like I said, this is just a rumor. It hasn't been confirmed. And some of this stuff I think isn't true, to be completely honest with you. I think, I don't know how Sony would not try to go for some of that merchandise, percentage right there. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where they're going to make a lot of money. You're going to make a lot of money on merch. Even at 5%, they're going to make a lot of money off of merch. So that's something I would have done. The live action Into the Spider-Verse thing, like I said, I don't think that's a good deal by Sony, because that's their own thing. So let's get this straight, okay? The two franchises outside of the MCU Spider-Man, their two biggest franchises outside of the MCU Spider-Man was Venom and the Into the Spider-Verse animated movie. Okay, those are their biggest franchises right now. Okay, and you're basically handing them over to Marvel Studios. Well, not necessarily Venom. Not necessarily Venom. Venom is going to be in the MCU, but it doesn't seem like, from their thing, that it's not going to be involved with through Marvel Studios, but it's going to be in the MCU. But then their other franchise, Into the Spider-Verse, which was a Sony only project, they're basically going to allow Marvel Studios to be involved, which I don't think they should. I think Into the Spider-Verse should be its own thing. It should be its own thing. Sony made it big. That was their little thing that they did. That was their little side project that was very successful. And I don't think that should be something they should give up. I mean, they're not really giving it up. It's still a 70-30 split. But that's not something I feel like they should, share with. That should be kind of their own thing. You know what I mean there? I think the deal should have just been for Spider-Man. I think all these other spin-off things that Sony are doing, they should be allowed to do their own thing with those. It doesn't necessarily say anyone else. Like, it just says Into the Spider-Verse and Venom being relocated to the MCU, and that's it. It doesn't mention anything about Morbius. It doesn't mention anything about Gwen Stacy, any of these spin-off movies that are being planned, that they're going to be involved with. But it ruins Sony's universe, though, because Sony's universe is the Venomverse right now. And if Venom's going to the MCU, then that pretty much just kills that universe, pretty much, because now it's like, well, this universe doesn't exist anymore, and now they're going to have to figure out where Venom 1 took place, and which they never specified what time Venom took place in. Like, Venom could have taken place in anywhere from 2010 to 2019, because they never really mentioned, like, specifying really anything, like historical events and all that stuff. So Venom could have taken place any time from 2010 to 2019, even though the film came out in 2018. The timeline could have been anywhere, and they could easily be retconned to Venom taking place at a timeline that fits Marvel Studios' narrative. So it could have taken place at any time, but then of course Venom 2, would have to probably be years later or something like that, which might make things complicated, more complicated. So, I mean, that's the issue we have. And then Venom's character might change too, because Venom was more of an anti-hero in the first film, because the film was, based on him. Because Spider-Man wasn't in the film. So Venom was based more on him. So he was more of an anti-hero character, but he was more of a good guy. Like, he was an anti-hero, but he was more of a good guy. He was saying, we can't harm people. We can't do this, can't do that. So while he was an anti-hero, he was more anti-hero on the good guy spectrum, because, like, he still wanted to, like, he still wants to protect, the people that are good. Eddie Brock even says that at the end, we don't harm, the people that are good. So Venom is still more on the good side than he is as a villain, which I think if you put him in the MCU, that kind of goes away, because now you have Spider-Man there, and now you have to, like, kind of scramble around. So unless they keep the same character, like, that character is going to be completely different in the MCU. Well, I mean, he doesn't even have most of his powers, because they never met Spider-Man. Like, in the first Venom movie, he never meets Spider-Man, so, he's just Venom. He doesn't, like, have the logo and shit yet, because he never met Spider-Man. He won't until, like, because the symbiote of Venom has to go to Spider-Man before it goes back to Eddie Brock, where then Eddie Brock has the logo then. Right now he doesn't have the logo because he hasn't met Spider-Man yet. Which then they're going to have to, like, figure out, because the symbiote goes to Spider-Man first, doesn't go to Venom first. But now that the symbiote already went to Venom, they're going to have to come up with a way where the symbiote decides to go to Parker, and then leaves Parker, and then goes back to Eddie Brock. Like, they're gonna have to figure that out. Like, and that's gonna be very complicated if you introduce that plot, whether it be in the one of the Spider-Man films, or you do that in the Venom film. That's gonna be a very complicated task to put out there, and figure out where you're gonna introduce that storyline. Like I said, I don't think this. Like I said, like they're talking about the Human Torch already, being in the Avenger film, which Avenger films haven't been announced yet. So like I said, they would have to reshuffle. And then also another thing is, are they getting a portion of the profits for the Avenger films? Because, like, in the first deal, it made sense that they wouldn't get any money for the Avenger films, Avenger and the Captain America film, because why would they need it? You know, they're going to get all the money for all these solo films, these 2 solo films that Spider-Man was in. They don't need it for the Avenger films. But now that they're getting a portion of the profits for the solo Spider-Man films, why wouldn't Sony want at least like 10% of the profits of Avengers films? Like, that's what I'm saying. 5 to 10 at least for that, because they're not going to give them any more than that, because they're not going to even be involved in it, pretty much. So that's another problem I have with this. It's like, it just doesn't make sense. And of course, Fantastic Four, obviously they didn't announce Fantastic Four for Phase 4, so, which to me is kind of stupid, because, the pun right there, Fantastic Four, Phase 4, would have made more sense. Try to revive the Fantastic Four, because Fantastic Four hasn't been the best. Though I still will take my stake to the 2005 film, because I do think the 2005 Fantastic Four film was a good film. But outside of the 2005 Fantastic Four and 2007 somewhat, they really haven't had a good Fantastic Four film. Obviously, 2015 was terrible on all levels. Probably, I would argue, the worst film ever. Actually, no. It can't be the worst film ever, because Dragon Ball Evolution exists. So, as a Dragon Ball Z fan, I will always say that Dragon Ball Evolution is the worst film ever. But in terms of Marvel, films, I would say that the rebooted Fantastic Four film is the worst Marvel film of all time. The 2015 one, that is. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure where this is going, guys. Like I said, I think this deal is not I don't think this deal is accurate. Like I said, it feels like this deal, again, benefits more of Disney than it does to Sony, if this is a true deal. And not getting at least a portion of the merchandising rights, a portion of the crossover films, since they're going to co-finance the Into the Spider-Verse franchise, which for the live action franchise, which is Sony's creation. That's Sony's creation. Yet they're going to give them a portion of the profits to a franchise that Sony made. But yet they're not going to get any portion for any of the Avenger films that Spider-Man appears in. That just doesn't make sense to me. Let alone, not getting a percentage of the merchandising rights. That just doesn't make sense. Obviously, Sony's going to get home media rights to these films, but it seems like they're not going to get the digital releases, but they're not getting TV releases either. I think they should get half TV releases for that, for TV channels and whatnot. We still don't know anything about more about Venom besides the fact that he's going to be in the MCU, which that's what I'm worried about, because that's going to have a lot of ramifications, and that's what I'm invested in, is Venom. Not the Spider-Man shit. I don't care about the Spider-Man movies. I care about Venom. That's the guy. That's my boy. Which is why I've been covering this mainly. I'm mostly covering this because of Venom. Because Venom is affected by this. Even though this is mostly about MCU Spider-Man, Venom is directly involved in, this conflict. because, he's obviously a part of the Spider-Man franchise. So that's what I'm invested into when it comes to this film, or this franchise. But, this is what I'm worried about right now, about this in general, is where we're going with this. Like I said, the two biggest franchises outside of Spider-Man are right now for Sony are Venom and the Into the Spider-Verse, and it doesn't seem like Venom is going to be financed by by Marvel Studios, but it's going to be in the MCU, so they're going to have some type of involvement. And then Into the Spider-Verse, which is not even their franchise, and it's not going to be in the MCU. Doesn't say it's going to be in the MCU, and I would think it wouldn't be. They're going to be involved in that, which again doesn't make sense to me, because it's like, they already have Phase 4 announced. Disney already has their stuff going on. Where are they going to incorporate Spider-Man? Where are they going to incorporate Into the Spider-Verse, for their timing? Because that's Sony's schedule right there. They have to put these movies out in a certain time frame. So where is Disney gonna be helping out with these projects? They would have to delay some of their projects. And I know some people say, well, Foggy can make it work. Okay, you can't compare Foggy's involvement 10 years ago to what he's doing now, because now they're launching they're launching Disney Plus, right? I believe this November. They announced those television series. We don't exactly know how long those television series are going to be for Disney Plus. Okay? So, we don't know how many episodes they're going to be. We don't know if they're going to be 12 episodes. We don't know if they're going to be 24 episodes per season. We don't know. Okay? Those are just guesstimates right now. Okay? So, we don't know. Okay? Any of that stuff. That's going to take a lot out of Kevin Feige's time. And trust me, television series is a lot harder than movie series, because you got to figure out the sets, you got to figure out where you're doing, and you got to do different episodes, hour episodes, half an hour episodes. Like, that could be a lot more challenging than doing movie stuff, and Kevin Feige hasn't done the television series stuff yet. The Netflix stuff, he was not involved in the Marvel Netflix series. Like, that was a completely different thing that he had no involvement in. So this is going to be completely new to Feige. And I'm not saying that Feige isn't going to make it good. I'm not saying any of that stuff. I'm not saying that he isn't going to do good with television series stuff. It's just that it's something new that he hasn't done yet. Okay? Doing a television series and doing a live-action movie are two different animals. Like, they really are. It's a completely different thing. I know some people just think it's the same thing because it's live actions, whatever, but no, it's not. Television series and live action movies are two different things, and you have to work them differently than you would for the other one. So it's a much different approach. So he's going to be really busy doing that, trying to adjust to that. It would be like, for example, like with Conor McGregor. McGregor, fought Floyd Mayweather in a boxing fight, right? Everyone was saying, boxing and UFC are two different things, which they are. They are completely two different sports. I know they have the similar genre of fighting, but at the end of the day, they're two different sports with two different regulated rules. And it's the same thing when it comes to television series and live action movies. Yeah, they're similar medias, but they're sort of different. They have sort of different approaches. You know what I'm saying? So Feige's going to be trying to adjust to that, to getting into the television series stuff, and having to do that along with already doing the live action stuff, the live action movies that he's got to do. So there's going to be a lot of different stuff going on that we just don't know yet. And like I said, that's going to be kind of very hard on him, while he has to now also work on stuff with Sony, with the Spider-Man stuff. and be involved in that stuff. Like, you know, and then, like I said, they just announced their schedule the next 2 years. Right? They just announced it for the next 2 years. What are they going to do? You know what I'm saying? What are they going to do for the next 2 years? You know, they got to adjust the schedule because obviously, you know, they got to help out Sony with these Spider-Man films because obviously Sony has to produce films within a certain time frame. So that's going to be a big issue. Like I said, I don't know if this rumor is true or not, but like I said, I just kind of gunned through the whole details. It's not confirmed. Some YouTuber confirmed it as real. It's not. Tom Holland he posted something with Robert Downey Jr. That does not mean it's confirmed at all. It does not mean anything. It could be, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. And of course, obviously, Iron Man is unfortunately not alive anymore, at least in the MCU, so we don't even know where this would significantly appear in at this point. So, yeah, guys, that's about it, guys. Comment, rate. If you like this video, my other videos, please subscribe, and that's about it, guys. I am the SS Ultimate Goku, and I'm out of it. Peace.